Hey, entrepreneurs, it's Steve Garvin, and I am coming to you live in this group to talk about your plans for 2020. If you're anything like me, we rewind 30 days to the end of December, and we're looking forward to what's happening in this year, in 2020. There's a good chance you had all kinds of plans about what was going to happen this year. Hey, Marna, it's great to have you here with me. When we finished up 2019 and looked forward to what was ahead, we probably set up some goals for ourselves, some dreams for what this year would bring for us. And one of the things that we've all heard about is how when it comes to be New Year's Eve and we're setting resolutions or even just thinking about what we could be creating with the new year, we think big. We think about what could happen. I was definitely there a month ago looking at that. And then the calendar turns, we start a new year, one day turns into another, and before we know it, here we are at the end of January. And how are we doing on those goals? A lot of times, I'm not sure exactly what the statistics are, but one of the things that we hear about a lot is that those New Year's goals or resolutions are oftentimes tucked back away in binders in the drawer or whatever about this time of year, because we set out with great intentions, we put our feet on the ground, and things just didn't materialize the way that we expected. Reality hits us in the face. So how do we respond to that? How do we do things in a way that helps us to succeed in order for us to be able to move towards those big dreams that we had for ourselves at the end of 2019 and moving forward? And one of the things that I have discovered is that if we actually take a break, pause, take stock of where we are right now, and instead of looking at all the stuff ahead of us and what we haven't done, look at what we have done and appreciate that moment. One of the ways that has shown up for me in my own life was an experience that I had with my oldest son when he was working on his hiking merit badge a few years ago. At the time, we were living in Asheville, North Carolina, which is a beautiful part of the country and of the world. The Appalachian Trail runs nearby, the Blue Ridge Parkway is nearby, and there's just lots of gorgeous scenery. And in working on completing his hiking merit badge, one of the things that we had to do was hike a number of 10-mile hikes. And so we drove up to the Mount Mitchell area, which is one of the highest parts of the country on that side of the country. And we parked, we got out of the car, got onto the Appalachian Trail, which runs along the Blue Ridge Parkway there. And he didn't have any extra weight to carry. He's got a really high metabolism and just burns through things like crazy. And he was in better shape than I was at the time. And he just set off, and he was determined to get to that end point, to get to that 10-mile mark. And he just was like the Energizer Bunny, kept on going and going. And I'm kind of panting in the background like, oh my gosh, am I going to make it? And I remember coming to a point where I'm just like, you know what, I just need to take a break. So I stopped, and there was this rock outcropping. We were on the mountain ridge, and there was a deep valley on one side, and in the distance, on the other side, there was this waterfall, Glass Mine Falls. And it was this gorgeous scene, this gorgeous setting, that if I had kept on pushing, if I had the same energy that my son had at the time, and he still has lots of energy, but if I had just kept pushing and kept going, I would have missed that opportunity. Would have missed the opportunity to celebrate where we were on the journey. That when our focus was so set on getting to our destination that we missed the beauty of where we were right there in the moment. And since then, I have wondered, often reflected, how often do I allow myself to do that? How often do I miss the beauty of where I am right now because I'm so focused on where I want to be? That doesn't mean that I totally take off my intention of getting to that destination. The car was parked at the end of this 10-mile hike. It would have been a long way to get home if I didn't keep that end goal in mind. But that didn't mean that I couldn't stop where I was and appreciate the beauty of the setting that we were in at that time. And that's one of the things that we can do in our own lives. When we look at the year 2020 and whatever our goals are, whatever our intentions are, instead of looking at the gap between where we are right now and where we want to be and focusing on that, look at where we started and where we are right now. Crunching the numbers, as I have a tendency to do, when we finish the month of January, we will only be 8% done of the year. That means that 91.67% of the year is still ahead of us. So if you've just started on making those dreams, those visions for what you want to create in 2020 come to fruition, come into reality, you're exactly where you need to be. And we have a choice of letting the stress build up because we still have 90% of the year ahead of us and 90% of the work ahead of us. Or we can take a break and appreciate right where we are. And physiologically, one of the ways that shows up for us is that when we stress out about what's ahead of us yet, all that cortisol, that stress hormone, builds up within us, and we feel the gap between where we are and where we want to be. And that's a rather uncomfortable feeling. Instead, if we stop to celebrate where we are right now and look at that 8% or whatever it may be that we've already accomplished and feel that sense of satisfaction, that sense of fulfillment, we get another chemical, dopamine, that builds up, that reward hormone, that hormone that keeps us searching through the internet, keeps us engaging on social media, that chemical that causes us to continue to move forward, to continue to build on what we've been doing. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have that sense of fulfillment, of that sense of satisfaction, that sense that fuels my tank, if you will, so that I can continue the journey that I'm on, so that I can continue a 10-mile hike that I was on with my son, so I can continue to build on the work that I've already done. Another example that I have is this past Saturday, I went for my long run. And what I did was, I live in Tacoma, Washington, and I'm surrounded by water. Puget Sound runs in 3 directions from where I'm at. And so I set out, and I intended to, and did, run across the Narrows Bridge. And I knew it was going to be a climb. Knew it was going to be a bit of work. So I parked on one side of the bridge, ran down across the bridge, up on the other side, turned around and ran back. And I was doing pretty well, and I was looking forward to a point on the other side where the bridge starts to, the runway lifts from the bridge up to the other side where my car was parked, and there was a climb of a couple hundred feet. And I realized, you know what, I can either be, like I was saying earlier, look at the gap between where I was right then and where I needed to be, or I could focus on just putting one foot in front of the other, celebrate each foot of the way. And by turning my focus from the gap between where I was and where I wanted to go, and focusing solely on that one step after another, I was able to climb that mountain, if you will. And before I knew it, I was back at my car and able to celebrate, really, having run 4.5 miles and feeling good about what I've done. So my invitation to you, my encouragement to you, is to celebrate how much you've accomplished already this year. Don't forget about your big vision for this year, but take a moment to pause, to reflect on the distance that you've already traveled, and to focus on the step that you're taking right now. And before you know it, you'll get to where it is that you want to go. As in my case, on Saturday, you'll get to the car and be able to drive to back home and to really celebrate. Hopefully I hope this was helpful. I'd love to get your thoughts. Tell me what insights you may have gained. Where are you on your journey? Are you excited about what you've already accomplished? Do you feel good about it? Or are you focused more on how far you have yet to go? How can you build up that energy so that you can accomplish the things ahead of you and feel good about where you are right now? And I'd also like to offer an invitation to you. If you'd like some greater clarity on developing the story of where you are and where you want to go, I will put a link in the comments where you can set up a time where we can talk about the story and where you are right now. Until our stories meet again, be the bright light in someone's dark night.